Hi, this is Ken Ferry with this week's Boots in the Field. Was up in the Streeter Grand Ridge area earlier this week, and harvest just started up there. Looks like corn's going to be 200 plus, beans in the mid 60s, where there isn't any water damage. Unfortunately, in the water damaged areas up there, it looks like it's also going to be crop insurance claims for some of that up there as well. So there's some tougher looking stuff. Was also out in north central Iowa on Saturday. Harvest has started there. Got into some cornfields and looked around, and looks like the corn yields are going to be in that 220 plus range. It looks like fungicides up there are going to be about as big as they are here. We checked some fields, and I believe the fungicide is going to add almost 30 bushel widespread northern leaf blight up there. So guys who didn't spray is going to take the top end off of a real big crop that they were expecting, but it's still good corn. Beans were in the mid 60s to mid 70s coming out up there if they didn't have white mold. If they had white mold, more in the 40 to 50 bushel range. But again, harvest is underway throughout most of Iowa as well. We were down in the Ames area, saw a lot of machines running there as well. Here in central Illinois, yields tend to still coming in strong, but as we get deeper into this harvest, we're seeing wider swings. We're seeing wider swings within the field, going again from, in some cases, bumping 260, 270 all the way back down to 120. But we're also seeing wider swings from field to field out there, which seem to be similar conditions, but the yields are not the same. The causes for these, of course, are many. One of the plots that we took out this week had 7 varieties in it. One of those varieties, due to its flowering date, even though they're planted at the same time, was flowering at the wrong time and was struggling to get pollinated. And we talked about it earlier this summer in some podcast where we had 6 and 7 inch long silks, and this particular hybrid was one of them in the plot it is. And it ended up being about 30 bushel behind the other 6 varieties that were out there. The weird thing about this, though, you couldn't see it. The stalk height was the same, stalk color is the same, the ears looked the same. If you didn't actually husk those ears back and look at the poor pollination issue, you would not have picked this up, and you'd have just looked at this hybrid as being 30 bushel behind the rest. The crazy thing is, the same plot is repeated just across the road, the same 7 hybrids, and they're planted 9 days later. And this same hybrid that looks like it's 30 bushel behind or is 30 bushel behind looks like it's going to be one of the top hybrids just across the road itself. Kind of similar things like in soybeans, we took out 2 of our tile plot fields where we're looking at tile studies, and the had the same bean variety in both plots, and we're in the mid 70s. We moved to a third field that had the exact same bean, but the drainage wasn't as good in there. Knocked that hybrid or that variety down into the low 50s. And these swings are kind of expected, as far as we see them out there, and we expect a year like this with so many wild swings in temperature and moisture and rainfall and drainage and water table. So I think they're pretty common, and we'd expect to see it. What I don't like is some of the comments that I do pick up from the growers that are thinking about making big changes based off of the swings that they see in one particular field or one particular farm. And I hear comments like, I'm never going to plant that hybrid again, or I'm never going to use anhydrous again, or I'm going to give up on strip till, or give up on no-till, or give up on this herbicide, I'm never going to use that program again, or maybe give up on cover crops and no-till. Those types of comments that are being made, and I'm afraid for some of you guys, if that's the way we're putting this into play, we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. A situation, if you're working with a practice that has a proven track record, you have to stick with that practice and make small changes. Don't throw that practice out because one field didn't happen the way you think it is. It is time to reflect, but we want to reflect on all the data that we have in front of us. Don't go out there and react on emotions. Don't make big decisions based on coffee talk, the talk that we get from the coffee shop itself or an internet specialist or something like that. You want to make it decisions that you're going to make changes on. They need to be solid. When we get this harvest over and we're able to look at all this data, we'll work through these issues and we'll help you work through them itself as try to figure out what caused certain things to fall apart in certain areas itself. But just be careful about making big changes. That's usually where we get in trouble. And I think most of it is just emotion and talk as guys get dinged on a field here or there. But I want to make sure, again, we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater and make some drastic changes in equipment or what we're doing and end up getting ourselves in trouble in these area tight margin. Speaking of data, the plots are coming out full bore now, and we do appreciate if you give us as much time as possible on the scale cards. Both scale cards sometimes can be scheduled out as far as 3 days in advance. So if you're thinking about a plot for us, it sure makes it a lot easier if you can call 2 or 3 days in advance and we can plug it in at South. You guys are doing a good job of calling in those fields as you get them harvested so we can get them soil tested. We appreciate that. Keep it up so we can stay ahead of your chisel plows out there at South. With that, let's keep it safe and keep the hammer down, and we'll talk to you next week.